The Canon EOS R is undoubtedly one of Canon's most popular full-frame cameras. I'm going to tell you why, even with its flaws, it's still a viable option for you in 2020 and why I decided to buy one. What's up all my creative peeps, Neil Lopez here, and welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed that B-roll sequence. Don't kill me, it's not perfect. I know this, there's definitely room for improvement, but it's the first time I actually tried a B-roll sequence and it was shot with my iPhone. So today's video, of course, we're talking about the Canon EOS R and why I think it's a viable option for a full-frame mirrorless camera in 2020. Now, here are my reasons why I think it is a viable option. First and foremost, it has come down dramatically in price. You can get an EOS R body for usually around $1,400 to $1,500 used. I think right now Canon has it on their website refurbished, which to me is just fine. I buy a lot of refurbished and used items. You save bucks, and then they're typically with the refurbs just as good as new. So you can get that for around $1,400 to $1,500 on Canon's website. It is a really good camera for both photography and videography. Canon color science mainly is the reason why I decided to go ahead and get one in 2020. You can't beat it. It's undeniably good. I mean, yes, there's a lot of other different cameras out there that shoot pretty good pictures, and if you shoot raw, it doesn't really matter. But if you decide that you don't want to shoot raw and you want to shoot JPEGs with very little or light editing, then the Canon color science, in my opinion, is undeniably good and really unbeatable. So, this is coming from a Fuji XT3 user for the past year. And Fuji has some really nice film simulations and color profiles. But I just, I love Canon. Canon's color is really good. I usually use the neutral profile for anything that I shoot, whether that be video or photo. If I decide I want to use F-Log, I think Canon has a really good F-Log codec. Obviously, you can do up to 400 megabits per second with either all-I compression or IPB. So you got a lot of data coming in. Now, let's talk about this crop. Of course, pretty much all cameras have some form of crop on them besides the Sony a7 III. But the Sony a7 III is not without its flaws as well. So I'm looking on the side of, yes, Canon does have a crop, but right now I'm recording this on a Tokina 16 to 28. Tokina also makes an 11 to 16. So to combat the crop, I just recommend getting a wider angle lens. That can solve some of your issues. But I mean, really, you have to determine whether you're going to need that extra width. How are you going to be using it? If you absolutely have to have those important focal lengths and those extra millimeters out of the lens and out of your camera, depending on what you shoot. For me, the Tokina 16 to 28 has done really well, shockingly well, for only about $400. It's an f2.8, and it's actually full frame, made for full frame mirrorless cameras. So I'm going to actually do a review about that, and when I do the review and drop that video, I'm going to link it up in the card on this video. So we've talked about price, we've talked about color science, we've talked about video codecs. Photography, it's great. Again, with the color profile that Canon puts out, it's just really good. In my opinion, it's a great camera. The flip screen is another bonus. With the Fuji XT3, yes, it was a bit easier shooting with that articulating flip up screen, especially if you're taking some low shots and stuff like that. But I have found that you can make it work with the flip screen by just angling it a certain way if you're doing photography shots and or videography shots. It just takes some getting used to. You have to play around and you have to basically make it work and make it function for your type of shoot or your type environment. So the flip screen is really nice, especially. So right now what I'm doing is recording a video, and obviously with this Canon EOS R, I have a flip around screen so I can look right into the monitor there and see exactly what I'm doing. So that definitely helps as well. Codecs are great. Canon has a really strong codec, anywhere between 100 to 400 megabits. Right now I'm shooting this on 400 megabits IPB. In my opinion, you can't tell a huge difference between that and all-I, but I do like the extra data that is being pulled into the camera. It just makes it a lot easier to play around with colors and editing and color correction, color grading in post. So really strong codec on the EOS R. So, you know, just to recap, guys, the full frame mirrorless market is definitely heating up. But if you can get your hands on an EOS R for $1,400 to $1,500, I really don't think that you're going to be disappointed. 1, because of the cost. 2, because of the color science. 3, it takes absolutely beautiful photos with the color profiles that are in Canon. And, you know, of course you can shoot RAW as well. But if you're someone that doesn't like doing a lot of editing, or matter of fact, don't know how to edit so well as far as color correcting or color grading, the color profiles are very, very sweet. And you have multiple ones to choose from. The video recording bit rates, excellent, anywhere between 100 to 400 megabits. Now, there's one thing that I wish the camera did have. I wish it did have 120 frames per second in HD. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It just has 60 frames per second. But that's fine. I mean, if you want super slow motion, I get it. That's not going to work for you. But 60 frames per second for my use and my needs is absolutely okay by me. 4K 24, 4K 30 also is what it does. Now, hopefully, maybe those specs will get bumped up with the new EOS R5 and R6. I'm thinking it's going to lay in the R5. I'm really curious to see what that camera is actually going to be when it debuts. And I did a video about that I'll link up right now in the cards as well. So between price, quality, codecs, flippy screen, battery life is also good, obviously with the LPE6N batteries, so you can shoot for a very long time. And the batteries aren't expensive if you want to, you know, grab a few if you're planning on being out for the day, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours. The battery life on this camera is really good. It's just tremendous. It's a good option. I love the EOS R. I really think you should consider it. Yes, there's a lot of, you know, rave about Sony. The A7 III is still a great camera. Don't get me wrong. It has in-body stabilization. It does have the tilt screen, which some people like, some people don't like. It does have a great battery life. It does really good with dynamic range. But I think the EOS R is right there, maybe just a hair underneath it when it comes to dynamic range as far as that goes. Of course, it doesn't have in-body stabilization, but if you have lenses that help, plus the digital IS in the camera, that definitely can give you some stability. Now, don't get it confused. A lot of people rely on in-body stabilization, but the problem is that will never replace a gimbal. So if you have shaky hands or you just can't get that ninja stance, it's not going to be great for you anyways. You're still going to see those jutters. You're still going to see those shakes, even with the digital IS in the body and the IS if you have IS lenses. So keep that in mind if you're looking at the Canon EOS R in 2020. Beautiful photography, beautiful videography, great codecs, great battery life, flip around screen, all the stuff that we still know about the EOS R, but maybe we just needed a little refresher on how good of a camera it actually is. I'm going to do a review on this Tokina 16 to 28 lens because it is super sharp. It is super affordable at $400, and I've used it so far a couple of times since I've had it for about 2 weeks with some photography shoots, some street photography, as well as some video work. So I'm going to let you see what that lens can produce. I mean, it's a great budget lens, and I think it's a great pair to the EOS R, and I haven't seen hardly any videos with someone using the EOS R and the Tokina 16 to 28. I've seen a few with the 11 to 16, but I do think the 16-28 is a better focal range. And for the money, I don't think you can beat it. I haven't found a lens that has that focal range, that wide angle, that would suit a lot of photographers and videographers for this price point. So I'm going to do that video again. I'm going to link it in the cards. So whether you see this video now or later, that video will be linked in the cards, but definitely see about giving the EOS R a try in 2020. I can't say more fantastic things about it. And then also, of course, look out for the EOS R5. You know, obviously that camera is going to have much more specs. It's going to be a newer model, granted, but what's the price going to be? We're still kind of wondering about that. Is it going to be $3,500, $4,000, $4,500, $5,000? Who really knows until Canon announces it and starts to talk about when they're going to ship the camera. But for now, if you want a camera, definitely consider the EOS R. All right, guys, so that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. It would help me out a lot, and it goes a long way. If you enjoyed the video very much so, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down twice. And until next time, hasta luego.
Oh man, Lord bless you with the bands. Hoping He gon' bless you with the 10. No win, but He ain't about to land. Floating.